Okay, welcome to our April 28th meeting. Under announcements, I call the meeting to order. Under our announcements, town hall meeting will be May 12th at 7 p.m. at Smith Academy. Hopefully you can attend the town meeting on May 12th. After all, it is your money, it's your pocketbook. Hope to see you there. Town elections will follow on May 19th. And the town clerk said if you're not a registered voter, the last day to register is May 1st. Memorial Day will be on May 24th on Sunday. The ceremony will be on the side of Town Hall at Smith Academy Park to honor those that have made the ultimate sacrifice, and there'll be a barbecue that follows. Graduation is on June 5th. Also the month of May, we'll be having concerts, and we'll be hearing about that shortly. And there is a be update later on the Elm Street Bridge project. And we do our meeting, the Finance Committee, at 6:30. And before I forget, because we're going to have a long meeting, I want to this is going to be our last televised meeting before town elections, unless something happens. And I want to thank Greg Gagnon for his time on the board. We appreciate you serving, and thanks for all you do. We don't always agree, but we've always had respect for one another's opinions, which is nice in this type of political climate. So those are my announcements. I don't know if you guys have any announcements here. Okay, with that being said, is there anybody here for public forum?
Do you want to do this real quick?
No.
Public participation.
Okay. I also like to mention the Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all the public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and the committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the select board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. For the public's information, this meeting is being recorded. Thank you for reminding me. I appreciate that. So we will move with our consent agenda. Do I have a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the April 14th, 2026 meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Under posted business, we're going to be having Karen Gattenby come up here for right there by the microphone. She's with the Hatfield Cultural Council. Maybe you can give us a little update on the Hatfield Cultural Council and the possible concerts that you guys are planning for Smith Academy Park. I know you're here to request permission for use of Smith Academy Park, but since you're here, I thought I'd give you the opportunity to tell the town anything that the Hatfield Cultural Society is up to and what's happening.
Well, we got a whole list of things.
Okay.
I don't know if you got a copy of that.
We do.
Okay, so I don't really know how to publicize this. We were just discussing how to even get a picture transferred from one thing to another. So she's gonna help me figure out something. But hopefully we can go through the Town of Hatfield page on Facebook. They post stuff for us too.
Okay.
And the library does too, because they have a lot of associated things that happen. The Historical Society does also, and they got a lot of stuff on the list. And the Celebration Committee were gonna do 2 of the concerts in tandem with them, or the money anyway. So if you got any ideas about how to publicize this, that'd be great.
Well, do we have this on our town website yet?
We do not yet. But as soon as we have this approved, we'll be good to go.
Yeah, once we approve it, we can post it on our website.
Yeah, I'd like it to be, if it could be like the Historical Society did with pictures and so I haven't figured that out. All I got is this. So, I got to work on that.
We can help with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 3 concerts are the Classic Soul Motown in July, and then the Bavarian, like Oktoberfest people,
All right.
there in September, and then Oakland Stroke is on June. So those are the 3 that we'd like to have over in the park.
Nice. So now you've been talking with the celebration committee on their concerts and your concerts or not? I mean,
Yeah.
okay, so you guys are all coordinated, that's all,
Yeah,
right?
and Karen
Yeah, that's the main
keeps
thing.
the calendar.
So that's great.
Yeah.
I do appreciate all the work everybody's been doing on providing concerts for the town and the other functions that the cultural council does. So as far as the park, the only complaint I ever heard was kids running on the veteran stone. So I don't know if that, and I don't think there's been a problem with cleanup on the park, has there? I mean, everything's been pretty good as far as people policing themselves and stuff. So I don't have any questions. I don't know if you guys have any questions on the use of the park.
Nope.
If-
They're a
if-
good time. I appreciate you guys having those. Had many.
But yeah, my only question was if it's been coordinated with Celebration Committee and their stuff as well, but it sounds like it has, so.
Coordinated, so
Yeah.
that's good.
So
So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Hatfield Cultural Council to use Smith Academy Park for concerts.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So cultural council, you're all set. And next up is celebration committee. Kathleen can give us an update a little bit on the celebration committee and
Sure. So we are finishing up planning our summer concert series. We have 5 concerts from May to September. And so the first one would be Chicken Wire on May 15th, Oakland Stroke, the 60s Experience, Blue Groove, and then we'll finish it up with the Hofbrauhaus Bavarian Band. So as Karen had mentioned, 2 of those are funded by the Cultural Council. That would be Oakland Stroke as well as the Hofbrauhaus Bavarian Band. So we have that going on. Further on, we're bringing the fireworks back this upcoming year, and also we'll have the float contest again.
nice.
Great.
Yeah, so we're just
Aye.
looking for approval to make sure that we can use the pavilion, Smith Academy Park this summer for the dates that we have. We've already planned, in the past, we've done the 3rd Friday of each month. We're planning to do 6 to 8 for the first 4 concerts, and then September 5 to 7, just based on the setting of the sun.
I think the town has been very appreciative of the work of the celebration committee and the concerts. I think people enjoy bringing their chairs and listening to the music here. I think it's nice for the town. So thank you for the work and effort you put into that. Do my colleagues have any questions?
Oh, I appreciate it too. It's great. I love it.
I just had one more question for you. So this year, we're not doing, if we have inclement weather, we're just canceling our concerts, and then it'll be a concert, based by case by case. So if we did decide to reschedule a concert, what would be the protocol, to get approval from all of you for that?
Well, I think the approval right now would be for this summer, right? I mean, Andrew, you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable with saying, maybe we just go through me, and then
Yeah.
since you've already approved it, I'll just make sure nothing else is on the calendar, there's no other conflicts, and then they're good to go. Does that work for
I
you?
think if we approve that you're allowed to use it for the summer, and if there's a change, just let Andrew know, and that should work, I think.
Absolutely.
It's a great plan. Yes.
Great, thank you so much.
So with that, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve celebration committee use of Smith Academy Park for a summer concert series.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Well, thank you very much for
Thank you
being
so
here.
much.
Yes. I believe, Did you want to go out of order on anything? There was a request to go out of order.
Yeah, we have some folks here from Smith Academy. We also have
Okay.
Mike Bartlett here for his item. So I'll leave it to you, Chair.
John Garrett and the students come on up from Smith Academy. Previously, the students had proposed a big sign to be put in at Smith Academy, a digital sign, I believe.
This is
It looks great. It's all brand new out there. I think you're just waiting for power, but I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and discuss the project.
Good evening. I'm Tyler LaValle, and I'm one of the students working on the Welcome Sign project. Levi Shea.
Ryan LeBay.
Ashton Thayer.
I'm John Garrett, and I'm their teacher, and I'm really just here to support them because it's very much a student-driven project. They have done all the work.
Yeah, we just figured we'd come back here to kind of update you guys where we're at in our process of making the sign. We've been in contact with Marlo and Andrew, who have been so helpful in helping us work through it. Marlo's helped us pick out a great spot for the sign to go. He's dig safed it to my knowledge. Looks clean, no underground wires or anything. And Andrew has helped us with advice on the sign and helping us get to these meetings. So, and I also shared with him and Marlo a sign design that our group is finalized and that we really like. And if you guys have any suggestions on that, you can please share.
Actually, I like you guys taking the lead on coming up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We finalized it. We just wondered if
Do you have a updated version to share, or the one you sent me?
the one you sent.
Well,
The one
John,
I
if
sent.
you want I can share my screen once I have. I'll tell you when I have it ready.
And this is the sign on Elm Street, correct?
This is
The
on
Welcome to
Elm Street.
Hatfield sign? Yes.
So just as another piece of context for anybody in the public that's wondering what this project is, it's a civic action project, which is part of the state law when they introduced civics into the 8th grade. They gave the option for a civic project for high school students. It's not a requirement for graduation. I would personally think it should be, but these gentlemen are doing that for their news literacy and criminal law class they're taking with me at the school. So that's the kind of context for this.
Are you just waiting for a meter now, right? I mean,
What's that?
they gotta pop a meter in for electricity, or is electricity?
This is separate from the high school sign. This is, remember the students came to talk to us about putting a sign, they had originally said at the intersection of Elm Street and Elm Court, and now it's going to be a little bit further down on Elm Street. It's a welcome to Hatfield kind of sign.
Oh, my apologies. Okay.
No problem. And this is what they've designed, and they'd love, if you're watching from the public, feel free to get in touch with me if you have any thoughts on this, but they've put the work into, I think it looks pretty nice. This is what they have.
That's nice.
You want to tell us maybe how you came to this and what's what you like about it?
So we took inspiration from other city welcome signs, town welcome signs, and we really liked the rectangle base with the half circle with the emblem in the middle.
Mhm.
And of course, proud of our past, optimistic about our future. And I think we should put Hatfield in big, bold letters just to know where they're at. And I think it looks really nice.
Yeah, and my only feedback was, it's a bold thing to do to decide what the saying is that you want on it, and I think if you pick something that is I'd say strong and inspirational, and it's a question of if folks in the public or the board like this or want something else. That's just the only part that folks might have opinions on. Is how I felt.
We're open to all feedback. So.
Yeah.
And if I could add the location.
Yep.
It'll be just west of Elm Court, far enough up the road towards the bridge we're going to talk about. Before the guardrail, before the state layout. It'll be standalone. There'll be no line of sight issues getting out of Elm Court. It'll be a standalone sign. It was way too busy right down in the area of Elm Court with underground utilities and everything. So I think it would go well there. And then it was suggested that if they have any type of lights, solar lights, that it goes on top, pointing down at the sign. That way there we don't have to worry about snow, ice, and snow plows taking out stuff that's put in the ground. and they've been great to work with.
How big is this?
That was part of our next steps that we were going to share with you. After we have the actual design finalized, which
Okay.
I think we pretty much do, we were going to figure out the exact dimensions of the sign. And we've come in contact with a guy who came into my dad's store. I believe his name was Keith Brick Design. He said he was willing to help us with the sign. So our next steps are going to be getting in touch with him, getting it kind of finalized, and then building the frame and hopefully installing it close to the summer.
Excellent.
I mean, I think that's great. I appreciate the initiative that you folks have taken. It's
Looks good.
fantastic.
Yeah, and let us know if what you need when it becomes time for installation. We'll have to re-dig safe it, even though we know there's nothing there. It's just the law. So, and we can assist in any way from the DPW. Let us know.
Nice. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you guys very much. Yeah, thanks for helping us out.
So what would be our next step? Do we just bring this back up at our next meeting after town meeting? Or do we want to have like a public comment section, or what do you think?
That's, I think it's up to you. I think this board gets to decide on, use of town properties and signage. If you think you'd want to have some larger forum for this, you certainly could, or a survey or something else. Just whatever you think would be a good way to get some public feedback if you want it.
I think if we just put it on our agenda for our next posted meeting, if people feel strongly that they want to come in and discuss it further, then we can do that at that point, and then
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, and they can come in, comment if they want. If they don't comment, we go with what we have.
yeah, I think
Perfect.
it looks great, so
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with it, but
Well, how about I post it, on the website, on Facebook, just kind of as this is what we're thinking. If you've got thoughts, you
Yeah.
can send them here, and we'll share them with the board at the next meeting. Try not to let it become like a just comment on Facebook kind of thing, but which I think we can avoid, especially when we say it's a Smith Academy student project, and there's no need to.
I mean, since the thing is, since the town people pay the taxes and support the town, it's important that we also give them a voice. And you guys have gone above and beyond. I think that's going to be the sign, but it's still nice, as my colleague has mentioned, to let the town have at least a small voice and an opinion of whether they think it's aesthetically pleasing or whatever. So,
it does look great, though. I like it a lot.
It looks great.
I think it's going to look fantastic.
okay, well, thank you for all your work and
Yeah, of
your
course.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Great job,
it.
everybody. Thank you.
Andrew, you wanted to take another item out of order, is that correct?
Let's go to Mike to talk about the affordable housing project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike Bartlett is here. This is in relation to an article that will be at town meeting. I'm not sure what number it'll be right now. It's Article 30, but that number could change. And the article states to see if the town will vote to appropriate by transfer from Community Preservation Community Housing Reserve account upon the recommendation of Community Preservation Committee a sum of $100,000 to build affordable housing at 7 Elm Street. Such project to be under the guidance of the Select Board, and said funds to be expended upon the direction of the Community Preservation Committee or take any action thereof. Now, when I read this, it just gave me a lot of questions on exactly what is the project and how does that work? Because presently 7 Elm Street, I know it as Chucky's old house, right?
Yes.
And it's presently a 2-family house. So how does that work and it becomes affordable? So you can explain to the town, because you'll probably have to explain at town meeting. There'll be a lot of questions. So my questions presently to you are things that, I'm not against affordable housing in town. I think it's great. I just, if it's under our purview to give somebody 100,000, it's like, how does that work? And is it stay affordable housing forever? How are people selected for this, et cetera, et cetera? So I'll give you the floor to explain that.
Those
And
are all
then-
the right questions. So I'm proposing an 8-unit building with 2 subsidized housing inventory, moderate income apartments. The other 6 will be market rate. This grant will be exclusively used for pre-development services such as engineering, architectural, legal, and permitting fees. This project shall be permitted through the state of Massachusetts by the 40B process. A 40B process is allowed when a registered subsidized housing inventory count is below 10% of total housing units in a town. Hatfield stands at 2.7%. An example of SHI, subsidized housing inventory, is Capewalk, where eligibility is determined by income, and the rent charged a resident is also determined by a personal income level. So the first step is a project eligibility letter, which is a pretty intense application. You'll see this. These are all the steps that are outlined in that process. And personally, I was going to try to start the application myself, but it's so intense and it uses such specific knowledge of the process that I wouldn't even know where to start. So I need to hire qualified architects and engineers to begin the process. You'll also see this picture. This is not what it will look like. It's a representation of what I think it should be. It should be specific to the historical district. It should look like a 200-year-old house with a fresh coat of paint. And there's also some support material in that package. The green is the 2040 report, 2040 committee comprehensive report. And this section is it's called Affordable Homes in Vibrant Neighborhoods, where it gives a structure to how we should start to build affordable housing in Hatfield. And that committee, Luke and I sat on that, and we met for 2 years, once a month. And at every meeting, we talked about the importance of adding affordable housing for this town. This here you don't have, but this is a report by the Massachusetts Housing Partnership on how CPA funds should be used to promote affordable housing. And it goes into great detail. It's 50 pages exactly on the process of doing it. And I've tried to conform to the CPA rules on housing, the intention that the town has from the 2040 committee of promoting affordable housing in a sensitive way to the way we live. And this is the one marked with the yellow highlighter is the 2015 housing production plan, where it says we should be adding 8 affordable units every year to try to make up the deficit. And since 2015, we've added 0. So it's time has come. And this right here with the orange marking, it's called Building Homes, Building Futures. It's a UMass Donahue Institute and Wayfinders study on what the state and this region needs for new housing units. And they came up, this was the last year's report, August 25th, 2025. we need in Hampshire County 5,149 new apartment units or dwelling units to keep up with demand. So prices won't keep spiraling up as people want to live here or continue living here.
So getting back, I mean, I don't think anybody disputes what you're saying. We've been
Sure.
talking about it in town for a while, the need for affordable housing. The 100,000 you said would go for architectural fees and permitting, and would that house then become 2 units for affordable units, or how would that work?
This structure will replace the barn that's there in the same footprint.
So it's not for the house, it's for the barn? Or?
No, the barn will be taken down and donated to a historical society or whoever wants to do it. And it'll be placed in the same footprint, brand new structure, brand new building.
So this is for architectural permitting, taking down the barn?
Not taking down the barn, that's the construction phase.
Okay.
This is all pre-development.
Pre-development, they call it, pre-construction or pre-development, which if the town decides to give a pre-development grant, it opens up avenues for state and federal money. It's called good faith that the town wants to promote something like this. And it shows that the town's on board with a project.
So basically, this is a pre-development grant you're looking for?
Correct.
So how did they come about 100,000 for pre-development? Is that like a industry-wide standard, or?
I spoke with some people at Valley CDC who do this all the time. They're the biggest player in this area, and a few architectural firms, and they said that's a good number to start with. It could probably all be done up to construction phase with that level of money.
So does that mean you would be coming back to the town for more money for actual construction?
I think it would probably come from the state and federal.
So the pre-construction phase, the money you're looking for was then you could go to the state and request from the state funding to build something.
It unlocks doors that wouldn't be open if the town wasn't on board.
Okay.
And it's called, they generally call it a friendly 40B, which I would work with the town. You know, we'd agree on what we wanted to build, which
So
makes sense for the town.
now that the town is working towards a housing trust, would the housing trust then be the people that in the future, if he got a pre-development grant of the 100,000 would now, and then he got to the point of construction phase with the housing grant, the land grant that we were tying in now be the department that oversees this?
He certainly could go, say, like in a year and a half to a housing trust. Once it has, funds, members, training, everything else, they would have funds in hand that could be used to help subsidize a project. They'd have to have proof, from the applicant that subsidy is needed, that it would help, create these subsidized units. That
Units are you hoping to put in?
8.
8 units.
and 2 of them would be affordable in this site.
2 would be affordable.
Now, a nice thing for the town is based on the current state regulations, the town actually would get credit for all of those units to be on the subsidized housing inventory if you're at 25% of the units as affordable. So it would count for us as creating 8 units of affordable housing, which is a little funny, but that is the way that the state works.
So this is sort of like the same process a developer would go through for putting in affordable housing, the same?
He's a developer.
Yeah, so you're acting as a developer, and that's the property where the 8 units would go on, and the 100,000 just the construction grant, and then after that, the hope is to have the state provide some funding so that you could have 2 affordable housing units out of the 8. So,
Yes.
okay, I think I got it.
And as Andrew said, we're at such a deficit with affordable SHI, subsidized housing units, that getting the bonus of all 8 really looks good
Okay.
to
so
everyone involved.
Now I better understand what the $100,000 is.
Right.
So.
And,
those-
you know, you
Those are
started
my
putting,
questions. I don't know if my colleagues have any questions.
So I'll just add that often in this space, it can be considered a risk for a town to make a grant for pre-development funds because there's a risk the project might not be completed. There's a risk that there's less proof that the subsidy is needed than you would know later on in the project. So I just want to know, Mike, if you'd be open to some kind of contract that would say, subject to clawbacks in the case that the pre-development funds are used in a way that it shows actually either the project is infeasible or that the subsidy wasn't necessary at the $100,000 level. If the project pencils out so that those 2 affordable units are actually just subsidized by the rents you get from the other 6, then perhaps it might make sense to return some of those funds to the town because they need to be used for public benefit. And if the benefit only goes towards the developer, the town could be found in violation of how these funds are supposed to be used. So I think you're going about all of this, the way you need to. Just want to make sure you'd be open to language like that to make sure the town's protected.
So what happens if it goes over the 100,000 on a pre-development?
that's on me.
It's on you.
Or he tries to find other funds.
All right.
I lost my train of thought on this.
So you maybe have some guidance on this? Or?
Yeah, Valley CDC says an affordable unit costs $500,000 to build.
Mhm.
Okay.
A non-affordable unit costs $300,000 to build because of all the pre-development hoops you need to jump through for the state and everything. So to get any of it developed, you have to be putting up that money so far up front to get to the point of construction that it's, I don't have $100,000. I have the knowledge to build it. I don't have $100,000 to stick up front to do it.
But if the project pencils out that you'd be making enough rents later, enough in rent for the foreseeable future, and then, even if you were to sell it at a certain point, that shows that it's a viable project, a bank might be willing to put up the funds in a way that the town doesn't need to. So just, you need to be able to show it doesn't pencil out that the bank could make it up or traditional finance could do it. You need the public subsidy. So as long as you can show that, then I think we're in great shape.
The affordable units always rent at a loss because it's based on income. So if you have the market rate units, at a certain dollar amount, you could be charging 1/4 of that for an affordable unit.
So basically, on one hand, both the town could be at risk and you as a developer could be at risk, right?
So the mechanism that they use with a project eligibility letter is so far ahead of all of it that if it's not eligible or not feasible, I would stop. A small portion would get it through the project eligibility letter before the 40B process. So if it's totally can't be done in any way, it'll be a small portion of that will be spent. This isn't $100,000, then it's all set. As we talked about in the CPA meeting, there would be milestones for payment along the way. And I think we broke it down into 4, which is project eligibility letter, 40B application. It was permits, construction permits. And there's a process of you have to have eligible people ready to rent it. So you have to maintain a list first. And that's a very specific function.
So the town wouldn't even pay half of the money until the project is basically built, it sounds like, based on that disbursement schedule.
Well, I think the last of it would be paid for the building permit.
Yep.
And that'd probably be the majority of it because
Yep.
you have to get architectural plans to the specific, whereas the project eligibility, it's more broad, more broad
Okay.
notions, concepts.
And it sounds like you were open to those contract provisions I was talking about earlier, that just,
Yes, I suppose so.
good.
Okay.
Because I know the construction part. If I got to the construction part, it'll be built. If it's not feasible by what the architects say or give me, it ends right there.
Well, on one hand, in order to get affordable housing in town, I think the town should be developer friendly, because if you don't get developers in the build, you're not going to get the affordable housing. So this might be a test of showing that the town is developer friendly to get the 8 units in, and that may actually trigger future developers building affordable housing in some other parts of town. I don't know. I'm just talking.
I think the other thing to touch on too is that, and Mike brought it up, is that this is considered a friendly 40B, where he's coming and trying to work with the town to develop a plan to be able to implement this. There's also an unfriendly 40B, where a developer can complete, if they have the funding already, they can completely leverage 40B. And there's, to my understanding of the way that the law reads, there's not a whole lot that the town can do to stop it until we reach that 10% threshold.
Okay.
So in this case,
All the zoning laws would be
Circumvent.
right. So in this case, Mike's coming to try to seek funding so that he can do a friendly 40B. The town would then also have some input and some guidance onto development of the plan. And then we would end up gaining essentially 8 units of affordable housing stock, which would help increase us from that 2.7 closer to the 10%. It's not going to get us all the way there, but it'll help.
And as it sits, this housing production plan is out of date by 5 years. So all bets are off. Someone could come in here tomorrow and say, I'm going to build. This is what I'm going to build. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it protects us. As this says, the 8 units would protect us from an unfriendly 40B for 1 year.
Is showing that you're making adequate progress in the state, so they like seeing that. Yeah.
And as we sit, the town is proposing a new housing production plan within the next year. Let me take my notes. New housing production plan, an affordable housing trust fund, and a review of current zoning bylaws, and the implementation of the 2040 comprehensive plan all at once. And there's no one in town that's done this since Capewalk. So there's no one with the knowledge to do it. So my books will be open, completely transparent on what's going on my side, and the town would probably do the same. So we can get it how we want it.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I know you recognize how important the town is, and keeping the fabric of the town the way it is in many ways. So I do appreciate you coming, explaining, and now I have a lot more knowledge than I had before.
All
So
this source material might be kind of hard to read, but there's a lot of information in it that I kind of put it all together and drafted a way forward,
it's a good test before town meeting for you,
Yeah,
Probably same questions people ask.
right.
He's been doing a real road show and hitting as many of the commissions and boards that are relevant to this as he can. So I think he's sharpened up his presentation. So
Yeah, well, it started 2 years ago where I got a construction supervisor's license, which I can apply for any building permit in the state of Massachusetts. I've been registered as a solar installation company for 10 years since I started putting up my solar panels. So I've been working toward this for 2+ years, and I've just found out how complex it is to get to the point of doing the construction. They make it hard so there's no fraud. Everything's really hashed out before any money crosses your desk.
Okay, well, I don't have any more questions, you guys. All right, well, thanks for coming. I
Yeah, thanks
appreciate
for
it.
explaining that. Yeah.
And-
I just want to add, with the aging population in Hatfield, we need younger people. And, it'd be helpful to know a 25-year-old carpenter, a 30-year-old car mechanic, and, we have people that are retiring and ending their careers and settling here.
And right now you're talking to the choir, because
Yeah.
I know that, so.
Right.
And I think a lot of work's been done with planning board and other committees to try to move in that direction, to try to figure out how to make it work, so.
And I also talked to a gentleman this weekend where he said, I've got this nest egg of a house. If I could spend some of that money without borrowing against it, I would sell my house, find an apartment, give that house to my children, or take the $600,000 that I sell it for retirement.
Right.
So there's another option. He's got a 3-bedroom house and it's him and his wife in their 70s, and his children could fill it with kids.
Okay, well, again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We've got a busy agenda, so we're going to be moving right along.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, skipping around, we've done topic 1, topic 2. Okay, we're going to go to topic 3. Let me adjust my paperwork here. This should move quickly through here. Okay, topic 3 is an application for a 1-day liquor license for Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity on May 20th, 26 at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at RK Miles, 71 West Street, West Hatfield. We've approved this over the last few years. I don't see any problems with this application, unless my colleagues have any questions.
Nope.
If not, I will accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 1-day liquor license for Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity on May 20th, 2026 at 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. at RK Miles, 21 West Street, West Hatfield, Massachusetts.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Topic 4 is an application for 1-day liquor license for the Beer Guy for a private event to be held at the Pavilion, 15 Billings Way, Hatfield on May 30th, 2026 from 1 to 6 p.m. You have the application in front of you. Under topic 4, I don't have any questions. Everything looks in order and insurance is there. If that, I will accept the motion.
I will make a motion to approve a 1-day liquor license for the Beer Guy for private events to be held at the Pavilion, 15 Billings Way, Hatfield, on May 30th, 2026, from 1 to 6, and July 1st, 2026, from 4 to 9.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Topic 5 is an approval of an all-alcohol beverage license for Zaya Corp., DBA Hatfield Market, 72 School Street, Hatfield, Mass. We previously had approved this. The license has finally come in, so I don't know if you have any questions. But if not, I will accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve all alcoholic beverages license for Xanax Corporation doing business as Hatfield Market, 72 School Street, Hatfield, Mass.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're moving, topic 6, appointments and resignations. Resignation of David Bresum from Open Space Committee.
I will make a motion to approve the resignation of David Bresum from Open Space Committee.
A second.
Motion made, motion seconded, and please send David a letter. Thank you for being on the committee. Motion carries. Appointment of William Ehrman as an alternate electrical inspector. I don't have any questions on this. This is a
We should have asked Tim Pachorik when he was still here, but this was, Tim had a couple folks who would fit the alternate or assistant electrical commissioner position well, inspector well, and there's 2 people that you see for you who can serve as that alternate. So there's two different positions they're basically being appointed to, but both of them well qualified and should be able to help Tim with the inspections as needed.
Is there,
One appointment to be Avid Ehrman as alternate electrical inspector, and the other appointment of Paul Miller as electrical inspector, but these have to be done separately, correct?
Yep, we'll do them
Okay,
separately.
so I'll
Is there
accept
any
motions
difference
on both.
between an alternate and an assistant? It's the same thing?
They're functionally going to be the same.
Okay.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
No.
Motion carries. I'll take another motion on Paul Miller.
They're different. All right.
I'll make a motion to appoint Paul Miller as Assistant Electrical Inspector.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Topic 7 is approval of water and sewer commitment. This is commitment number 3. As you know, we've changed the billing on water and sewer, and this is commitment 3. So I don't know if Marla wants any discussion on this, or Andrew on this.
No, there's not really much to add except that this is our next round of billing, and no, I don't really have much more to add on this.
Yeah, I would say it's been much quieter this round as far as issues, reading and all that.
Okay. So with that being said, I will entertain a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve water and sewer commitment number 3.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Topic 8's been done. We'll move to topic 9. We finally have a settlement regarding West Street eminent domain case. I don't know if Andrew wants to comment on that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to speak to this briefly. So we have been discussing this in executive session in the past. We've gone through a couple back and forths with the attorney representing the estate of Susan Berry. This is all related to the eminent domain case on West Street. There's dispute about how much the property would be impacted by the sewer infrastructure work that was there. We were going in a direction where it looked like there might be a much higher payment needed because of the demands of going to trial or anything else. In this case, there was a new individual who took over the suit after the death of Miss Berry, and basically it's ended up in a place where both parties are comfortable with this settlement amount of $20,000 and avoiding going to any kind of jury trial, which is going to be the best outcome for really all parties here. So we're comfortable with signing on to this. It's mostly going to be funded through a budget line that we still have for eminent domain cases and takings. So we'll be able to use that for the majority of the funds. And it does also include a line about the lateral movements. The attorney believed that the town had in some ways not acted in good faith in installing the connection lines for the sewer where the property owner wanted. The town does not agree to that, but what we have agreed to is that if for any reason there should be work right outside that property in that exact location, we'll be willing to help install the sewer lines in the location where they want. We believe it's unlikely that work will be taking place in that location.
Okay, I do want to thank my colleagues and Andrew for all the work that went into this agreement. It's been going on for a few years, and we finally came to an agreement that I think is good for the town, and I do appreciate everybody sticking with this. So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the settlement for West Street eminent domain case as proposed.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Topic 10, notice of award of generator project.
Yeah, so this is some really good news here. We are still under budget on the wastewater treatment plant project right now. Our engineers on this project are still looking into opportunities to still use the rest of the funds that are assigned to it. Typically, if we end up under budget on a project, we say, great, we'll take the rest of the money and give it back to the taxpayers. In this case, the end of the project is being paid for by the United States Department of Agriculture. There's a USDA grant that we've received for this project that doesn't kick in until you're in the last, say, 8% of the project. So the project is mostly done. We are now into that grant round. The project cost that USDA is granting part of has to include the contingency. And since the project has gone quite well, we haven't eaten into a lot of that contingency. So we have extra funds available for anything that's related to this project. We had some early versions of the project that also included generator installation, and we'll be able to move forward with those generators as a part of this project now. And we went out to bid because our general contractor on the project was offering a price that we thought was higher than we would have received if we'd gone out to bid for this. And that was confirmed. It was looking like it would be around $650,000 after going out to bid. The total amount is going to be $328,000. The winning bid was Elm Electrical. So the recommendation will be to award Elm Electrical the bid. They came in as the lowest bidder when we first opened the bids. There was then another bidder that looked like they actually were the lowest because there was a math error on the forms. But after working with them and looking into their qualifications, we're uncomfortable saying that they are the most responsive and responsible bidder in this case. They did not quite have enough experience to meet what we were looking for. So we're able to disqualify them and move to Elm, the next highest bidder, next lowest bidder. And we'd like to award them the project and get started soon.
Okay, any questions?
Nope.
Then I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to award generator installation project to Elm Electrical.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, topic 11, MOA with public employee commitment and Hatfield unions on plan design changes for health insurance. And I know Andrew's been heavily involved with this, so I'll let you
You've heard
take
a
it.
lot from me on health insurance the last couple months, and you probably will still continue to hear more from me on health insurance as we look into options for the next year. Where we are currently is that we will be staying with the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust with the next year. And the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust has increased their rates by 12.48% this year. Now, in an earlier proposal, they looked like they were going to need to increase by over 16%. But they were able to make some plan design changes for all enrollees. And anytime you make plan design changes, you need to go through a process to negotiate that with your public employee committee. Public employee committee is made up of representatives from our different collective bargaining units in the town. So there's a process, 21 through 23 of Mass General Law, Chapter 32B. And we followed that process, but also just signed an MOU with the collective bargaining associations. So our plan is to, following the state statute that governs how these things work, we will be instituting the plan design changes. All of our employees taking the health insurance are eligible for mitigation. When you make these plan design changes, the town receives some savings for doing this. 25% of those savings need to be passed along to the employees in recognition of the inconvenience of needing to change plans or needing to change the design, because they'll now have deductibles on their plans of $250 for an individual, $500 for a family, and then higher copays, especially for specialists. Copays will go from $35 to $60, and copays are also increasing for a number of other services as well. So we had this calculated what the mitigation will look like. For those on the lower plans, individuals on the HMO, they'll receive $108 in mitigation. A family on the Blue Care Elect, the PPO, will receive $347 in mitigation. This will be done through a one-time check that we'll do in July. So just they'll get a one-time check to help go towards the impact of having these copays. So it's kind of nice that in the first year, if you have a $250 copay, you get $100 back. So it's a smaller, if you have a deductible, smaller deductible in that first year, which is nice. So those are the overall terms of this MOA. The unions have signaled they're on board with this. So I will have a final version that's put together for your signature, but I just want you to approve the terms. And then once we have the version for the signature, I'll get that to the chair to sign, if that sounds good to everybody.
Makes sense?
Any concern?
Great.
I'll make a motion to approve the MOA as proposed.
Second.
Motion made, second,
I think.
Second.
seconded, motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Nice.
I'm trying to get to 6:30 for these guys over here. Okay, well, we'll do DPW report, then we'll go with Finance Committee because they're here for 6:30.
I don't have anything. So
Okay.
all my items have basically
No,
been covered.
this way you can
already,
go home
I
early.
have to be here anyway, so if you want them to go on time, that's fine.
That's fine if
so.
you want to
You
wait.
go ahead, I think, and then we'll bring
Yeah, go
everybody
ahead.
up.
So I actually have a lot to report. Most of it is just high level. But I'm currently acquiring quotes and scheduling meetings with contracts for the irrigation project next door in this Anderson Street, Smith Academy Park. I'm waiting for them to come in. I expect them tomorrow or by the end of the week. I guess the project was intended to have a well service the irrigation plan next door, only because we should be careful of how much irrigation we tap into our daily withdrawal rate of our town water. It's creeping up there, and then for future development and expansion, we're going to want some wiggle room there. So it was mentioned earlier about all the activities in the park. I think irrigation could be pretty easy to schedule around. It's not like you're digging 10-foot deep trenches and leaving big holes. It's pretty much near the surface, a foot deep. So I think I can schedule around that if we get to that point. I want to make sure we have enough funding. The project is being funded by CPA funds. And I believe it was $30,000. Also, we're getting going on the surveying for the 2 cemeteries, which was a CPA-funded project for us to redevelop or develop the roadways around the Brad Street Cemetery and some work in the Main Street Cemetery. The biggest news is I received correspondence from Mass DOT regarding the Elm Street Bridge replacement. I attached the information for your review. It was just an overview and a scope, a very high level, where the project's at. So I reached out to the Mass DOT representative that was mentioned in the paperwork for more information, because in the letter that I received, it said that I would be receiving 25% design specs on the replacement of that bridge. I'm working through IT and through Mass DOT to get into those specs. It's a special software, so I wasn't able to get in today. So it appears to me that when they start on 25% design, it's a long way from the project starting. When these are all designed like this, from 25 to 100% design is a couple years generally on a larger project. I'm not sure if this one will be sped up or not. Once I get into the design, we have 30 days to comment back to Mass DOT on our comments as far as the design of the bridge. Anything we point out, it'll include a traffic safety plan that includes public safety, so on and so forth. And that's something we can look at and approve. And when I talked to this gentleman yesterday, they're well on their way and they've already spec'd all the bridges along West Street for detours and everything else. So they're well on their way on that plan, but we'll be able to take a look at it. I signed myself up, like as I said, and Luke up and Dwayne up to get into this blue beam system that they get to review the actual plans. If anyone else would like to be part of that and go in there, all I have to do is give your email to Mass DOT, this Christopher Cameron. So the other piece of it is, as we go, I think it would be a good idea to I talked to both chiefs a little bit on this already, that I would like to include them and potentially also the school department, get together and meet and discuss the alternate routes and the detour routes as we go for buses, fire, police and fire, so on and so forth. So if they have any comments to come back on, they may see something I may not see, we can comment back to Mass DOT and then they can make the adjustments or answer.
I mean, when we get to that project, what you're talking about, 2 years, we're talking a complete bridge replacement, which could shut that bridge down for 60 days, according to what I read. So beforehand, the only suggestion I'd make for Mass DOT, if we have a sign that starts warning people, in advance that the bridge will be closed in a certain date, so people can start being aware of it that drive down that road, that's all. And I do appreciate you talking with all the chiefs and stuff, because, there's going to be some planning that needs to be done, especially with ambulance coverage and contacting the other ambulance companies that service town, et cetera, and fire department and all that. So whether we get to the point within a year or so, that'll probably be Luke's problem by then. So we'll
I'll be here.
he'll still be on the board. I don't know if I will by the time we get to replace this bridge. But anyways,
I think the other piece of it is we all know there's heavy truck traffic in the area of that bridge too. So I'm interested on my end to see how the detours are going to work and where they're going to put all these trucks in and out West Street and to get the 91. So, but stay tuned. I mean, as soon as Luke, Dwayne, and I can review, I have a meeting with the chiefs and probably the school superintendent on the busing. I'd like to get back to Mass DOT and give any comments we may have on that. But just to reiterate, that complete bridge is coming out for 60 days. It's going to be nothing but a missing bridge. And they're going to install a pedestrian footbridge back in its place so pedestrians and cyclists can use it. So generally, we're probably looking at the full replacement 28. It all depends on funding through Boston and Mass DOT, but probably looking at 2028 would be my guess. Could get moved up, could go further out.
okay. So I don't know. We got the finance committee here. I don't know if you want to keep going with, or can you summarize
Finish
this?
what you have and
I'll go high level on the rest of the stuff that I have. So, I mean, the Elm Street bridge replacement was the big one. So the town hall letters, they were in production. We expect to have them up in the front of the town hall painted and the flagpole painted in advance of Memorial Day. We had a little bit of an emergency dig yesterday. Yesterday, we had a sinkhole and a culvert failure on the west end of King Street. Dug it up. It wasn't as bad as we thought. It was a 36-inch culvert. We'll just say that less than standard construction procedures were done when the pipes were put together. We put the pipes back together properly and got it backfilled in one day. So good job by the crew. The grade and gravel roads is all set for now for the springtime grade. Dwayne is working on stump grinding and getting tree quotes for trees that have been requested from removals. And we have the street sweepers in town. I expect they should be able to, they won't be in town tomorrow, but they should be able to finish up on Thursday. Day Pond project, there was a small punch list. Western did a good job. They took care of everything. We're well on our way to, well, we are at substantial completion on that, just awaiting one more inspection. The boilers, that's moving around right along. They were supposed to fire the first one today. They have a separate group that comes in and test fires these things and checks them out. But they found a gas leak. They were working on that today, so they didn't get their gas inspection on that boiler. But I expect that to be up and running by the end of the week. Let it run for a few days, and then they'll start in on the second boiler. The pavement management, I should be getting a schedule tomorrow of the evaluation of our roads, so that's kind of ongoing. Elementary school roof, the big change there is it got pushed out 1 week to May 4th for start date on the shingle portion. We had kind of a pre-walk around last week or the week before, just so that everybody understands where materials will be stockpiled in. And we've worked pretty heavily with the principal and the school superintendent. It's been like a ballet to figure this all out, but I think we have a good plan of working around the kids. The other thing I wanted to mention is we have a small section of water main we have to finish up on Straits Road regardless of if we get the grant or not, but we left off about 150 feet from the paved section in the gravel when they installed the water main. So we got to get at least 150 feet in. If we get that grant, we got to get that in, kind of a high priority job for the DPW. Because once we get that grant, we have this year to spend it. So, and we should be hearing by the end of May. So I've met with both the highway and water superintendent, and they're on board, and we're developing a plan for that. We've already got the materials for it, so there's no additional cost there. And real quick, facilities, all the windows inside and out be done June 4th here in the town hall. And then we have a deep cleaning scheduled for Friday, May 15th. Late morning into the early afternoon, which will work out good because of the town hall hours on Friday. So many other things going on, but I don't need to ramble on.
Well, thank you for that. I noticed the sweepers are out there doing the roads. That's sort of neat, especially the machines they have. They have some new stuff out there, so.
Yeah.
Okay, with that being said, we'll entertain the finance committee. I apologize that we went over.
How fast if I can go 2 pages?
Great.
Are we meeting tonight after?
I have it on the agenda that we should talk. Yeah.
That's what.
Okay, we're meeting with the finance committee. It's town meeting warrants will be discussed.
I'll give you plenty of room there.
Okay, we're back, and I do want to thank the finance committee for coming here tonight. We have to go through warrants. My understanding is you guys all worked last night, long hours, and reviewed the budget. So you're making some suggestions on changes, and I don't know if you guys want to discuss that first or go right to the articles.
Yeah, I think we should check in on budget first, if that sounds good. John, if you want to share my screen, I think that'd be helpful.
Just go over.
So I had sent around a document that showed basically where we were at, because I think we looked pretty aggressively at either limiting spending in a few lines, which mostly included not meeting new requests for spending rather than, say, cutting from last year. I had done an initial round to make sure that anything that the town administrator was responsible for, less so than other departments, was at the right level. So things like property insurance, I think, were pared back, health insurance, things that needed to be brought back to the right spending level. That was all done in kind of the first pass. And the second pass was looking at what were the alternative sources of funding that were available, what we're going to do to close the $565,000 deficit that was out there. And then once we made some of the cuts that were needed, found additional funding sources, and then committed to using some free cash and also some other one-time sources, and then accounting for the proper reimbursements from the water sewer enterprise fund as well as cable enterprise fund. Once we went through all of that, we actually ended up at what we determined to be around an $84,000 surplus. So that meant that maybe some of the decisions that we'd made from a place of let's cut back spending could be revisited. And I think we did that last night with the Finance Committee. I'll share the document that I'd put together and kind of just go through that quickly. I think that's helpful. So this is that kind of budget decisions document I'd put together, $84,000 surplus. There were a number of things we could revisit, and I tried to show if they would decrease the surplus in red, increase the surplus in green. We talked about the police department salaries, ultimately deciding that the number that we're at right now, the $346,000, is close enough to the ask that came in at $353,000 that we should be fine. If there's an overage there, it's something that we could cover through a mid-year transfer or through the Finance Committee reserve. For the fire chief salary, we had split the salary 60-40 between fire and ambulance. In the past, it was more like 90-10 fire and ambulance. We decided not to do anything to change that. Now, for full-time fire and ambulance employees, the chief had originally asked for an increase to that line that would come closer. You okay? Yeah. Increase to that line that would help bring these roles a little closer to the compensation that they generally receive in other towns. The Finance Committee had opted for a 2.7% increase instead, and splitting fire and ambulance 60-40 rather than kind of closer to, say, 70-30 before. We've decided to keep that split 60-40, but met the original request for appropriation, which would put us, I'll show you. Sorry, too much fire. The request was for 83,000 from fire and 37,000 from ambulance. We're gonna do 48,000 from ambulance, 72,000 for fire, which would meet the original request. Just the split is more from ambulance than originally asked for, which then means it's coming from the ambulance fund rather than from the general fund. And then no changes made to the part-time salaries. Actually, the part-time salaries, the request was for 125,000. We kept it even funding to 16,000 and change rather than the 125. That was the decision of the Finance Committee last night. The Finance Committee would also keep the tree warden expenses line at $40,000 rather than 45. The assessor's salary at $46,900 rather than $54,600 as requested, and then would restore the full $40,000 to the Finance Committee reserve rather than $30,000 that we had talked about. Now, the other thing that Finance decided on last night was they would like to remove the DPW mini loader from the annual budget from a lease line and instead pay for it outright from free cash. Make a one-time free cash transfer of $100,500. So instead of needing to pay for interest in the next 5 years, we would just buy it outright. They would keep the fire chief truck in the leases. So that is basically it of the things that I went through.
It reduces the overall lease payment by, from where we were last year by what, 60?
Yeah, so it basically it
70,
reduces
70,
last year's budget
$70,000.
line by around $80,000.
$80,000.
Yeah.
We had reduced it by 63 or something like that by just eliminating, like just, we had already paid for things. This would take us down around 80,000 total over last year. I think the thinking here was that given some uncertainty about future years, the less tied down we could be to a long-term lease on this thing, which is needed. There's no argument about, we're not arguing that. Just saying that it might be better to purchase it outright right now and then because the rest of the lease is relatively new. It's last year's.
All came last year, yeah.
So we're going to be tied to it for 4 years. There's no real relief in sight. So I don't feel like it was like a strong, like, oh, we have to do this, but we went back and forth on it and decided if we have the money right now, we're holding a bunch of free cash in reserve. Maybe we can just get it done and not think about it. Next year, that $25,000 might be needed.
So I think that brings us to the free cash plan. I think you'd have to look through everything we're planning on doing for free cash right now to make sure that that sounds good. So we ended last year with $1,059,000 in free cash certified. That's what we have right now. There's $90,000 that's on the warrant right now to correct a past accounting issue. There's not really much we can do about that. We've talked about this before. I'd originally shown the health insurance line is closer to $90,000. I'm recommending, and we'll get to this later in this meeting, that we make a mid-year transfer tonight from the vocational education line, which it's just, we've paid all the payments from that for this year. We're going to end up with around $50,000 extra from that line. I recommend we take $45,000 of that to put towards health insurance for this year, and then all we'll need from the free cash would be $38,700. So that brings down the full amount we need by making that transfer.
Do we want to just go a little bit into thinking on that, or?
Go for it.
I think some of the thinking there is that we think we're probably unlikely to see health insurance increases comparable to what we've seen over the last 18 months. You know, I mean, certainly it's going to go up. It does. And probably will go up more than what we've historically seen because those numbers were artificially deflated by the use of the trust. But hopefully it will not be in the neighborhood of what we've seen over the last year and a half. If it is, I think we have to dramatically rethink some things because it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, and as we've been saying, you know, this is in many ways what I'm pitching as a bridge year. And I do think everything needs to be on the table for looking at potentially bringing down costs next year. And one of those things would be health insurance. I think we should entertain the GIC again. I think we should look at what other options might be. But at the same time, I do think that the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust has shown much better management in the second half of this year than the first. I feel good about the options available to them to try to bring down some costs. So we need to pay our health insurance bills this year. It's not really a way around it. But what I'm saying is half of it can be paid for through money that is not going to use. It's already in this year's budget. And the other half we'll take from free cash. So that's that. Snow and ice, same thing, half and half. We should have enough money from this year's DPW budget to cover about half of the deficit, a little less. There's $66,000 in deficit for snow and ice this year. That's a real testament to leadership in the DPW this year between Marlo, Dwayne, and everyone else. We've had $100,000 in the past for a deficit. For years, we had a lot less snow and ice. So I really appreciate the work they did this year to be mindful of the cost while also, I think, delivering A+ services. So not a lot of complaints about how our roads were done, besides maybe one person in this room. But yeah, really, really good work there. So $34,500 that we need from free cash for snow and ice.
I just have one question on the vocational transfer. How do we feel that affects our outlook for our free cash for next year? Because that would transfer over to free cash for next year, right?
Yep. It's kind of a choice that you'd make. Either we use the free cash now, we'd have a higher amount that we need, or you have more that closes out next year.
I mean, in theory, yeah.
It's kind of a 1-for-1. And it's a question of, would you rather have more money close to free cash for next year or more that you're using now? It's kind of a distinction without a difference.
Yeah.
The difference would be that even if you identified that money and knew it was coming back to you, you wouldn't be able to touch it until free cash was certified.
Right.
And the free cash that's already certified, you could spend at a special town meeting if you had to.
Right.
So I guess that would be the difference rather than waiting.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I just know we've talked multiple times about the concern of the reserve.
Right now, we're looking at $350,000 being left.
Right. So
And if some of these things that are on here don't get passed at town meeting, like happened last year.
Yep.
that goes back into that number.
Right, so that could continue to climb.
So that would continue, like that 140,000 for Elm Court last year didn't go through. That went back into the free cash.
Yep.
That's why our number's higher this year than we probably would have been, okay? But we saved, we must have had over 500,000 in free cash going into this year.
Yeah,
So-
sounds good. I just thought it was something to.
No-
Yeah.
It's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So I'd still recommend taking $10,000, putting it towards OPEB from the free cash amount, not making stabilization fund transfer this year. It doesn't make sense since we're already taking from one-time sources to fund this year's budget. But we'd like to turn that around in the future. $140,000 for a budget supplement. Now, if you're keeping score at home, this number was $200,000 before. So through some cuts and some other things, we don't need to use as much free cash as we thought. If we go back through the budget and we feel like something else needs to be funded at a higher level, or if something else happens and projections come in lower on something else, that gives us some more free cash to work with. But $140,000 in free cash rather than $200,000, which I think is good. $2,790 for a prior year's bill. That's pretty straightforward. Let's talk about capital expenses. This is where things currently stand based on kind of agonizing, going back and forth with this with Finance Committee. We would pay for the fire radios, $12,500 from free cash. We'd pay for the apparatus bay roof at the fire department, $35,000 from free cash. Would not do the town hall flooring at this time. Debris loader is already paid for, already in process from the current DPW budget this year. Guardrail mower will most likely need to wait on because it's kind of impossible to find one at the moment due to tariffs and supply chain issues. So we can wait on that. That's a bummer, but just the reality at the moment.
Can't buy what we can't buy, I guess.
Yeah. So I think the biggest question in here is, was there any strong feeling that we should actually just move forward with the town hall flooring? I've been of the opinion that it's a great CPA project, and once we have all of the documentation for it, we'll be able to apply for it for next year and get this done in a year and a half. It's not great to wait, but I think we can do it then. Yeah. And then apparatus bay roof, I think, is worth doing, but Finance Committee landed on the side of moving forward with it. That's up to this group to talk about. And this, obviously, all these things will be on the warrant as well. So we'll need to get them passed through town meeting. If the townspeople disagree, then they'll be able to voice that then.
It's pretty low capital expenditures this year.
Not
We're
a
not
lot.
doing hardly anything really, just things that need to be done. And, I think some of that is really about the fact that we've been doing the lease for so long that we have a lot of stuff that functions and works and we don't need to replace it. So.
And we had a lot of capital
And we
last
bought
year.
a van.
There are a lot of things we put in for last year. A number of new leased vehicles. Certainly a very large debt excluded project for our schools and our parking lots. So this is just a smaller year, and I think that's fine. For Route 5, I'd like that to come from Enterprise Fund and from an existing warrant article that we can transfer. We have the mini loader, as we said before. Instead of doing it through a lease, we would do it as an outright free cash purchase. $35,000 to go to the unemployment trust, just to make sure that that's beefed up in the case of potentially higher claims this year. There's already $100,000 in that trust. Another 35 would just be helpful. Elm Court is one we'll need to talk about, but this would be the project that we've been talking about for some time of pouring concrete floor, hooking up electric to the garage there, and getting garage doors installed. And that would make the garage fully functional. And I think that'd be a good step for the town. So great. This was discussed last time. South County ambulance fees, as we said, will probably be assessed around $70,000 next year from South County for their reporting to mutual aid calls that in their mind have not really been mutual aid, since we don't have the resources to respond in kind to all of their calls. So they will be charging us $350 a call. We think that'll be around $70,000. This would help mitigate those payments, so it's not all coming from the ambulance fund. the way we would structure this, it's kind of the same thing that Luke was alluding to earlier, just kind of which way the payments go. What we'll probably do is just transfer $50,000 to the ambulance receipts reserved account. That means that when our accountants take out the full amount of the budget, we'll have kind of a lower number in that receipts reserved account, but we'll put money in from free cash to strengthen it back up a little bit. So you could either do it that $50,000 goes right into our budget, or $50,000 goes to the receipts reserved. This should be clean enough. Let's make sure the accountants are okay with it. This was discussed last time. Some kind of studies on regionalization, shared services, or other efficiencies for school and town services. $50,000 should get us started, especially since there are resources from the state for schools and potentially some money coming from the supplemental fair share bill as well. So, and then we have some budget lines that could be used as well. So $50,000 should give us something to get started with some studies and consultant assistance on exploring shared services and regionalization for a number of services that we provide. If we want the number to be higher, we can talk about it, but I think it would get us started for this year. And then the school special ed reserve fund, we talked last time about the $75,000 grant that we believe we'll be receiving. If we pair that grant with $50,000, then we'll have around the amount that an unexpected out-of-district placement would cost. It can be around $135,000 a student. So if we get one of those mid-year, we won't have to dip into emergency funds. We won't have to call a special town meeting. We'll have the funding in place through that grant and the reserve fund, which I think is good planning for the future because these things happen. So that's the free cash plan as it currently stands. It puts us at $350,000 left, presuming none of these items fail to pass town meeting. I view that as a little under our target, which our financial policy set 3 to 5% of general fund budget should be reserved in free cash. But between our stabilization fund and a couple other sources that we have, the finance reserve account, we should be in decent shape. $350,000 to start with for free cash is an okay place to begin.
The only other question I had, I was just curious on the reasoning for the mini loader being a full payment out of free cash rather than a lease.
Yeah, fine.
If there was any specific guidance on that.
I think we went back and forth on it a bunch. It wasn't hard one way or another. You know, I think that it's just, do we want to free up potential money for next year and the year after and the year after that, which we may need. And also it reduces the amount of interest you have to pay on the thing over that period of time. And, you know, we talked about, do we need this item? And, you know, some level it came down to, we have to deal with the sidewalk somehow. We really have no mechanism to do that. We don't require people to shovel their own sidewalks like some other places may do. And I don't think we have any mechanism to enforce it, even if we did do that. So we need some way to manage it downtown. And that seems to be the way to manage it. That makes the most sense.
It would be a $22,000 and change addition to the lease line in the DPW budget for the next 5 years.
Right. Okay.
So we think things are going to be tight again next year and the year after that. So
right.
That $20-something thousand that we're not going to have to pay the next 4 years or 5 years.
Right. And again, it just goes back to, it makes more sense to do that and then take the hit on the free cash than to try to keep it and spread it out.
Yeah. We still have a decent number of free cash left over.
Yeah, I feel like if we were going to go much lower, we probably wouldn't have done that, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think either decision is defensible. I think that the lease is a decent deal for the town, but I also think getting it done in 1 year could also look nice in the budget for future years. So, and also it helps you.
Lease program, that's all we ever did.
Sure.
Right.
You know, so.
Makes sense.
Yep. Any other thoughts on the free cash plan as it currently stands? So the free cash plan transitions nicely into the warrant. I'm trying to think of, oh, I should show where we're at for the budget workbook. So after all of that, what it ends up showing, and all we ever really look in this is to make sure it's all accurate and that this number is a good one. So it showed a $25,000 surplus right now. So we had 84,000, we're down to 25,000 after reducing the free cash payments and doing a number of those other restorations of splits and other things. I think 25 is a good number. I wouldn't want to get anywhere below that. So, yeah.
Yeah, we felt like that was where we wanted to target as a bottom line, if we could. I mean, obviously, we've been much closer before.
Oh, yeah.
Where are we with the accountants looking over all this stuff?
So after this, they were with us and agreed to the $84,000 number. There haven't been any substantive changes besides kind of like getting to where we wanted to go after that.
So they looked at it when it was at 84.
They saw the 84, they agree with the 84. So
So we should
they
be
backed it
okay.
up with their backup. So I have sent them all of this, and then we will meet this week to make sure that we're still in the same place. They will sign off saying that they think we're good.
Yeah, we
And
didn't
then,
make any changes that should impact that.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
And if I did make a spreadsheet error somewhere, they'll catch it. And I don't think it will cost us $25,000, but they'll catch it.
Right.
I do want to note that one other, just because we've talked about other sources available, this is one that Luke had flagged, that there is a fund from the conservation account for anything that comes in permits and fees. We can use that to pay for expenses. So this captures $6,000 from that account that we haven't really used in the past to go towards the general fund as well. So another nice little source of income that we haven't used before that I think makes sense to use this time. And it's not a one-time, it's a one-time fee, but it makes sense in that it does replenish and it's paying for conservation fund activities. To pay for admin time and everything else. So that's that. All right, so that's the workbook. If we feel good about the workbook, then I think we start working through the warrant, if that sounds all right.
That sounds right.
So you were all given the most recent version of the warrant, but I did update it based on last night's meeting. So I can pass around copies of that. There's 3 for you.
I think we have them down here already.
Does it, what date does it say on the top left?
423?
Yeah, we have 428
Oh, okay.
That's old.
because we met last night, so. And then there's one for, make sure Karen gets one, then I have an extra
Karen's
2.
got one there.
Actually, pass this one down and Karen can give that to Marlo and the chief so they can follow along as well. All right. I was hoping that as we do this, we can also have the finance committee vote to
We will.
endorse the articles. And I have it here so folks can follow along at home. Article 1 is elections. That doesn't require any action. Okay. Article 2, we have this every year in here to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to apply for, accept, and expend without further appropriation any state or federal grants. There was a thread going around in my town administrator network asking if you actually need this. So I asked town council and they said, actually, the select board is authorized to do all of this. So you don't need to bring this article to town meeting. So that is at the advice of council that we can remove this article as long as everyone here is comfortable with that. The select board doesn't need to ask for town meeting approval to apply for,
Just fewer things. We have
accept
to-
and
we have to
expend grants.
read.
Right.
Does that sound good, everybody?
Yeah.
As long as it's all legal, yeah.
It's gone.
Sweet.
No, town council approved. Now, we do need to authorize the treasurer to enter into a compensating balance agreement. And that one we typically have recommended by the finance committee. So we'll keep this, and does the finance committee want to vote to approve?
Who want to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept
Second.
Article 3.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. In the same vein, Article 4 here
Chapter 90.
does not need to be approved by town meeting as well if we want to move forward in that way. So we'd like to strike this one as well?
Yeah, we stopped including it in the budget
It's not in the budget.
because
The select board does need to vote on it at some point, but it does not need to go to town meeting. All right?
Okay.
And I will update these numbers later. I'm not going to change the numbers right now so we don't get confused.
Yeah.
So next would be our snow and ice, unless you want to move this further down the warrant. Because I know this one is sometimes a challenge, but I think it's fine.
Let's do it.
So it's going to say a sum of money to implement, supplement the fiscal year 2026, so this current fiscal year, snow and ice budget.
Make a motion to accept Article 5.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And sounds good? All right. Next is a 4/5 vote. This is to pay that one bill from 2 years ago for porta potties.
Make a
So
motion
moved.
If
to,
you don't pay, they bring them back.
second.
Do you want to ask for the all in favor?
Yes, all in favor of
Aye.
Article 6?
Great.
Aye.
Okay. Article 7, this would be to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate by transfer, otherwise provide a sum of money for engineering and legal services for mitigation of Route 5 infrastructure project, or take any other action relative thereto. We're going to need to have a good explanation for this. I'm sure there's residents who will be concerned, but I think we'll say we really also just want an account so we can track this because we intend to be compensated for much of this as well.
And you've got that in the budget.
60,000 or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
You've got that in the budget already.
It's the free cash, well,
Free
it's mentioned in the free cash plan, it's going to be $60,000. It'll ask from retained earnings.
Retained, right,
And I'll
right,
also
right.
transfer $30,000 from another engineering fund to go to this for now,
Okay,
the MS4 plan that we haven't spent anything from.
Plus, we're hoping to recoup this.
right, yeah. Make a motion to accept Article 7.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we're going to recommend 7.
Yeah. Next, 8, this is OPEB, $10,000.
Fine.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And select board, if there's any of these that you have concerns about or questions on, just let me know. So this would be a majority vote. This is that past accounting error that we talked about. There's $90,000 we'll need. I don't see a way around this one.
Make a motion to accept Article 9.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, this is the $34,000 that we want to put towards this year's health insurance expenses, also in the free cash plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And just so you know, all of these are saying a sum of money. We'll fill in the exact sum when we do the motions rather than here in the warrant in case something changes. It doesn't bind us to it. But I'll have those motions done by the end of this week so you can all review, but it'll all be in line with the free cash plan and everything else we've agreed on. Good. This is the $35,000 to the town's unemployment trust that I
Make a
mentioned.
motion to accept, to approve or support Article 11.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
All
Good.
right, next is $50,000 to the ambulance trust. Ambulance receipts reserved.
Make a motion to approve, to support Article 12.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This one, I don't know if we need, to be honest, and I need to figure this out. This is vote to raise and appropriate by transfer, otherwise provide some money supplement the 2027 fiscal year budget. I feel like that just gets done in the budget article.
I do too.
I don't think that has to
That's
come
the
from here.
140,000 from free cash to
Yeah.
supplement the budget.
That comes from,
I don't think we've ever done that, have we? I don't remember doing this in past town meetings.
have you ever used free cash though for the
Yeah,
supplement budget?
we have.
And you would typically just put it as part of the budget
It's
article.
part of the budget and
funding
it's,
source.
and it's recognized in the funding source of the budget.
Yeah, so I think we can remove this.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly check with town council, but I can't
Yeah, I don't know
imagine.
why it stands aside from any other revenue, really.
That was really just me trying to make sure I had everything from the free cash plan in
As
here.
long as the budget that they're going to be given on that town meeting
Yep.
reflects that 140,000 as a funding source,
Right.
then that shouldn't be an issue, right?
It counts as, because the budget article will say appropriate by transfer.
Right,
This is a transfer,
correct.
Yeah.
so. I'm going to remove this because this should be fine.
Okay.
I'm just gonna make a note of it. All right, the next one is the one that we talked about last time. And I want to make sure everyone's comfortable with the language here. Town will raise and appropriate by transfer, otherwise provide a sum of money for consultant support for studying or implementing improvements to service delivery by town departments, including regionalization, shared services, or consolidation. Is that kind of what we're looking for? Is that broad enough?
That covers pretty much all the options, doesn't it?
I believe it's.
It puts everything on the table.
My only concern with it is that I thought we were talking about making it more pointed towards the schools, and I just want to make sure that this doesn't limit us for our grant funding opportunities.
How would it limit?
Because if this is going into account that's specific for a study to the schools, because the way this reads to me is that we could use this money for,
We could.
yeah, shared services amongst, if we wanted to look at DPW or police or whatever.
By service delivery by town departments, improvements to schools or should the word schools be in here somewhere?
Puts it, me personally, we're looking at all town services. Absolutely schools.
Schools counts.
But we have to look at all services,
word
whether it's DPW, fire, ambulance, police. I mean, those are all areas that should be looked at.
I just wonder if
Regionalization, is that's the
If I-
word that
if I
you would think
capitalize the word
goes
town
with
here.
schools versus
But
other.
it could go with other
That's not
departments.
the
could,
only
yeah.
option, and that's not the only
Right.
department that could do that. I think it's just, that's generic.
should I say schools and town
Yeah.
departments, just so that it's, because if you say town departments, that might make someone,
no difference
think I
here,
mean
though.
town hall.
Yeah.
So because it's a town-operated school, it
Yep.
is a town, it's part of the town.
It's
There is
part of
no
our
other-
town department, right?
There's no other separate district.
Is everyone okay with this? What do you think?
When I brought it up last week, I was bringing it up in specificness to the school department, not
Anything
townwide.
else?
Yeah. Because I think if you spread the 50,000 out and we start looking at all the departments, we could make that money disappear pretty quickly. For example, the study that was done for fire and EMS 3 years ago, that was 25,000 right there. That would eat up half of this right away.
Yeah. And kind of in my mind, the thought was you'd have like one for something like that, and the remaining 25 would go to schools, essentially. And then there's other supplemental funds out there between state support
could
and
look at,
state
yeah.
grants that would also go to the schools. That's kind of how I thought of it. You could argue we need more money. You could argue we should focus in just on one of them, but yeah.
Could also argue it may take more than a year to do all this too.
And then you put in for
And then
next
you might
year as
have
well.
more money in the budget next year to continue this.
Right.
Because it may
Or
not,
find the
not
grant
get done.
source.
Yeah.
You know,
Also, there is like if you wanted to do that, there is a targeted, there's a process for it. So there's probably also an example, like you have to set up a specific committee if that's what you want to look at. Like if you want,
If you go
if
regionalization
you
per
want to
se.
look at regionalization, you have to set up, there's
Yeah.
a process already laid out for that. So I think you would have to find a descriptor of the process to include in an article if that's specifically how you want to do it.
Could we make the article say that the school would be the first thing that this would go towards?
I think you got to look at everything.
I don't know what.
Oh, yeah, but first the school. I think that's what our primary concern is right now.
I wouldn't agree with that. I think my primary concern is everything, you know, as we look forward. And I think this is a great thing for educating townspeople, because I think we'll learn a lot by doing this. And then it might make it easier down the road to justify some sort of override, because we figure out, you know, for whatever department, in order to keep it, that we need more money. But I see this as a great educational tool for all townspeople, because let's be honest, there's a lot of rumors out there about all this stuff, and this puts it on paper, and we get something, hopefully that makes sense, because we don't know
I guess too, what's the intention? Like, what's the structure look like here?
Essentially, we'd have this, and the select board would have to come up with scopes of work that they would want done, and you would get your quotes, and
Right.
they would choose consultants to.
Wouldn't you be working with the
supervisor.
school committee? Because the school committee is an elected board, and
I think you'd have
you
to.
want to be very careful about.
Well, also, yeah, I mean, you do have to come up with a scope of work, obviously, right? But this is the plan. I guess I just don't know what the plan is. Is the plan for the select board to oversee all of this without anybody else?
I mean, the idea I
Or-
floated before was to come up with some kind of
Committee.
some kind of super committee, some kind of, budget deficit committee that would be supervising this scope of work and an overall plan to try to close this budget deficit that we have, the structural deficit, looking at anything that's on the table. And that would include select board and school committee representation, among others. And they would supervise this. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
I would think you'd also want other town service,
Oh, for sure.
You want police, fire, DPW,
Yep.
library, council on
At-large
aging,
members, yeah.
all those things need to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I would, there's other committees like this
'Cause
that
there's-
have been put together by other towns over
I
the
mean,
last
we
couple years.
look at what other towns are going through right now, like South Hadley and other towns, and we are so lucky that we're not going through this. But if we delay this
Because
in
they're
a
even
couple of
they're even
years, that
looking at
could be
a,
us in that.
they're even looking at a
situation.
regional council on aging up in South County.
Sure.
Not every town has,
Yep.
it'd be great if every town had their own, but was it Deerfield, Whately, Sunderland, trying to put a regional council on aging together someplace up there and trying to find a spot for it?
Yep.
So it's not just
Yeah.
the schools and the police and the fire.
Yeah.
Chief?
I just want to make a point, there's a lot of discussion about what the plan is and who you're going to review and who's going to sit on the committee. This article is just to appropriate or transfer a sum of money for town floor. The planning and who's going to be reviewed and everything else really comes later after the money is appropriated. So,
Unless it doesn't. I mean, if you
or if it
wanted
doesn't,
to,
that's correct.
if
But
you
it
wanted to
just-
structure the article, and it could be in the motion that gets made, you could put more strings on it. But the more you do that, the more likely it is to not pass, I think. But
We want to make it as friendly as possible in order to get it to go through.
Yeah, so if it stays like this, the select board can steer it.
I think
after
they'd
that.
have to.
Yeah.
I mean, the board would have to direct it to give the townspeople an understanding of what the money's going to be spent for.
Your whatever committee you come up with would be under the purview of the select board anyways.
Right.
I just
I
think
mean-
you're,
The first intent is knowing about the schools. That's one of the intents. I do agree with other services for
Schools and elected.
the other departments. That
elected
makes
officials
sense
also.
too, but.
you just,
But they don't appropriate the money from the town budget.
That's true.
The select board does. The money's coming from the town budget under
They are
the,
the
under
town
the,
bursar.
under the bursars of the.
From town meeting.
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, town meeting appropriate. It's just, yeah, this is fine, because I honestly think you're going to need, like, from where we're starting from, if you have a committee as described, or close to as described, or anything like described, you are going to need 6 to 8 months just to figure out what your opportunities are there in some ways. You're not just going to.
I mean, that's my nightmare, but I know you're right.
But
But like, I mean,
If you have
we've all just spent all our time in the budget. We know that there's 4 or 5 things that we probably just need to start
right,
with.
there are 4 or 5 things. That's absolutely right. But you're going to have to figure out which of the 4 or 5 things are real opportunities. Then you're going to really dig into, because you're not going to really dig into things that really, in the end, aren't going to yield anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, when we go to town meeting, we have to explain what the intent of this article is and how we expect to spend it. But if we don't, then it's going to be voted down. Right? So I mean, if we go to town meeting and say, the intent right now is to form a committee and start with, say, the schools and then move to other departments. Maybe that's the direction we should go in.
I think it's preparing. I agree with what you're saying, but this is preparing the town for what we see as budget challenges in the next couple of years.
You know, how we get, yeah, because I don't,
How are we going to get through these?
And I think there'd be support for that.
I do too. And I think you do need some, we won't get anywhere without money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you need a staff, you need somebody.
Just have something to get us
who's gonna
started.
follow up on things, who's
Yeah.
gonna do all the legwork. You're really gonna, unless somebody's gonna take it on as a full-time job, as a volunteer,
Yeah.
you're gonna need somebody, or else you're just gonna spin wheels.
So
And
your
you're probably
point-
gonna have to hire consultants.
That's what this is for.
Yeah.
Staff,
The
part-time staff person
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
So do you feel that the townspeople will understand the wording of this article, or should it be reworded to reflect what we're saying, or what you're saying, that it needs to direct to all town services to help educate them in the future? That sort of makes more sense in a way. And should it be reworded? That's all I'm questioning, is the
We
word.
want to keep it as broad as possible so that you can do whatever you need to do.
You know, we want to make it as simple for people to understand the true intent.
your first step might be, we get somebody on board who digs into what are the funding opportunities to study specific topics.
Right.
What kind of regionalization grant can we get to do X, Y, or Z?
I guess the one thing I might change here after thinking about this is when I say studying or implementing improvements to service delivery, we're really talking about efficiencies in service delivery. If that's the way we want to go, we're trying to talk about how do you save money, essentially.
Sure.
I know it's a small thing, but I think
Yeah.
I mean, you could, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those language changes are going to really impact how you spend
no,
money. You know
no,
what
I don't
mean?
think so. I just want to be more accurate. All right. Do we have a motion?
Motion to support Article 14,
How much money were?
50,000.
It's not a bad start.
Second that motion. Second. Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Article 15, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 13E, to allow the Hatfield Public Schools to create a reserve fund to pay without further appropriation for unanticipated or unbudgeted costs of special education recovery high school programs, out-of-district tuition or transportation, take any other action relative thereto. So this is a special education fund. To spend from it, it needs to be approved by select board and school committee, but not by town meeting. So if something comes up in the middle of the year where they have an out-of-district placement they need to pay for, we don't need to call a special town meeting. They just vote from select board.
And this is just to set up the fund, this article.
This article sets up the fund.
No money associated with it at all at this
Not
point.
until we get to the article
Correct.
directly below. What do you think?
Yes.
We don't have to
That's
vote
good.
on that.
We don't, yeah, there's no money, so we don't.
We don't have to
on
vote
this.
on it.
Fair enough?
Well,
Well, I mean, it's a funding
it's a,
mechanism.
fu-
I
yeah,
feel like you,
it's creating a funding
The
mechanism.
next one is what we would vote on, though,
No,
right?
we should vote on this.
should vote on this?
It's creating
Okay.
a brand new,
Motion to support Article 15.
yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
all right, $50,000 to go into that fund.
Motion to support Article 16.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's take a quick pause here. So that's a lot of business in the beginning of the meeting, but I think it's all important things, and I'll do my best to get the fact sheets and things out about this. It almost feels like we need to kind of tee up for folks in the beginning just what this meeting's about, because it's a lot about our budget position, our financial position, and a lot of things that we'd want to do to improve it moving forward. So we might just want to think about how that gets messaged to folks ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, I would just, on 15, I would say it's important just specifically because it's important that we understand and recommend it or not, because it specifically sets up something that's different than other things in town, other funding mechanisms, which is, it's an appropriation outside of, it's money that's being pre-appropriated for expenses that may or may not occur
Right.
And it
And
will
if it doesn't-
require no further appropriation.
And if it doesn't occur, it stays there.
Yes, it doesn't go back to free
Doesn't
cash.
go back to anywhere, it just stays there.
Yep.
Which is not unique, but different than mostly how we do it.
It's a reserve fund.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of those.
Right.
Okay. FY 2026 operating budget. I started with, see if the town will vote to repurpose funds appropriated under previously passed warrant articles, supplement the 2027 fiscal year budget. When we did the special town meeting, we did this separately from the budget article. And this was to close few accounts that we had. As a reminder, I'll show you what those are, because those will be broken down here in the motion, just not in the warrant. They are budget plan. Smith Academy carpets, $4,000. Trash compactor, $2,000. Police cruiser, $21,000. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Those are just all in excess, and they go towards the budget rather than into free cash.
I move to support Article 17.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We should probably tally that up at some point so we have that number, exact
People will
number.
want to know.
You know what I mean? Because we're using a
It'll
variety
be in
of.
the motion.
No, I mean, we're using that, we're using 140,000 free cash.
Where's
We're
all the
using a-
one-time funding come from?
Correct, we're using a variety of different things here, so I think we should have a,
Yeah, I mean, it's
A
going to
bottom
be
line.
about $200,000.
Yeah.
So we should have backup for that.
yep. Because it's important to know.
Because that also gets to the question of how big is the structural deficit.
Yes.
Right.
Article 18 is the budget article. To see if the town will vote to act on fiscal year 2027 budget, to raise and appropriate by transfer from all these things, and free cash is in here, so we don't need the separate
Right.
thing.
Okay, move to approve Article 18.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Article 19, rescind the bond authorization voted for the replacement of the Hatfield Elementary School roof and boilers. So as you all remember, we had two different roof and boilers articles.
Yep.
One of them with debt exclusion, one of them without. This one we can rescind because the debt exclusion passed.
Okay.
Nobody sneaks out and borrows money to replace the boiler, we already replaced.
Motion to support Article 19.
No one can-
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
So
Someone else say aye, or it's going to bug me.
are we okay? It's interesting, we're doing the budget kind of in the middle of all this, and then we go on to quite a few other things after. And I'm just thinking back to old school days where the budget was the last thing we did. And so, I don't know. I don't know if we've gotten any feedback that doing it this way is right or wrong, but
I mean, in my mind, we're there to pass the budget. It's kind of the most important article that's here. The things that I have before it, you kind of need to pass in order to get there.
right.
And then the rest is more of the rest is really capital. You could do capital first if you wanted. That's also an option, but
Because what used to happen is they would be it at the end so that people would stay for town meeting.
That
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
necessarily work well, but we did do that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people come for certain articles, it passes or fails, and
There
then
is
they walk out.
there is an advantage to doing it that way. The advantage is that if you have the budget last, for example, let's say there was a particular capital item that you didn't, that didn't pass, that you then wanted to maybe, I don't know, enter into a vehicle lease for,
sure. It would be hard to then,
you could then amend the budget.
yeah. I'm open to anything.
That's
And
the
select board
advantage.
sets the warrant, so if there's any thoughts you all have for where you want things to go.
And you may not want to either. You might just
Yeah.
say, hey, whatever, that's how it is.
I will say the order is mildly arbitrary. I've taken it from whatever we did 2 years ago, which turned into what we did last year, which is kind of where we are now. If you've got a better way to order things, I'm very much on board with it.
It is very hard to predict
Yeah, you never know.
what people are going to want to spend a lot of time talking about.
Sure is.
That's
There will be something in here that none of us will know that,
Sure.
we'll be spending a lot of time on, and we'll walk out saying, we didn't see
Last
that.
year was the puddle.
Yes,
Good news for
The
you.
puddle.
It's bad.
exactly. I mean, it happens every year.
Could be that again. I hope not.
Clearly, yeah.
All right.
But anyway, we're going to recommend it regardless of where it
Yeah,
falls.
wherever you put it, it's your choice.
Does anyone want to move to recommend Article 20?
Did you do that yet? No. Oh, Article 20 is revolving funds?
Yeah, I move
There's
to
nothing to that.
support Article 20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, capital. 21, this is fire and ambulance department radios. I mean, we basically already approved these because we talked through the free cash plan, but
Yeah, I move to support Article 21.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Recommended.
I should strike this because this is guardrail mower, which we're not going to do this year from free
Right.
cash.
All right.
Okay.
Fire department apparatus bay roof.
Yeah, I move to support Article 23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Elm Court.
I move to support 24.
Second.
Marlo, is the language in here okay? Pour concrete floor, install garage door openers, electrify, and otherwise upgrade DPW garage at Elm Court?
I think otherwise upgrade covers
That's how I feel.
virtually anything you might do, other than build a new thing.
Are we going to anticipate people wanting to speak about this, as it has been every single year that this has gone on?
Yeah. I think we should, because
Yeah.
I personally, I'm against doing this myself. I know everybody else is for it. Building was a big mistake, and we shouldn't be putting any more money into it.
Well, we can have, you represent the con, and either Ed or Luke can speak to the positive case for it.
It does take away from validity of voting on town floor and what we do as groups, but something still needs to be done with the building at some point. So I kind of do agree with Greg, but I mean, something needs to be done with the building.
Yeah, so I think it would be good to have someone speak in favor of it, just be ready to go on that. And I mean, Greg, you're perfectly welcome to speak against it too, and I think it's fine. If it gets built, we'll name the building after you. It'll be fun.
I mean, there's a definite use now that's been outlined by Marlo on use of that building and how it can be used for cold storage and protect a bunch of equipment. And there's been a negotiation with COA on the van for use of the building. So the money will go for things that the town needs as far as the COA van and stuff. So
Should there be some sort of a handout about all that, or
I think there should be.
should somebody be prepared to speak to all that kind of stuff?
I would be prepared to speak on it. So.
You would be
Right.
prepared to speak on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think, we're fine supporting it. I just think
Yeah.
we're going to need to explain it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely prepared to speak.
We
on
should
it.
do something about it, yeah.
I think the lesson's been learned. We go.
And I will say I
Go
made a
forward.
180-degree swing from a couple years ago because I was standing up in opposition on that. So.
Hey, you opposed 140,000 last year, and this year,
Yeah.
if you get it done for half the
You
cost, I
mentioned
think that's
that.
great value.
Yeah, I mean, it's half the lift of what we were trying to go for last year.
Yeah.
We might
There's
not
a
want
clear
to-
path forward of what the building can
We
actually
might
be used
not want to
for.
suggest that only because, they might want to wait for next year and it'll be 30.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, Finance Committee, what do you say?
Article 24.
Yeah, didn't we already?
We did that. Yeah, we did it.
We
Yeah.
did 24.
Yeah.
25, I'm going to strike because this is the town hall floors.
Entryway, right.
That's good. Done.
What's next?
26.
Mini loader. This would be free cash. Marlo, am I calling it the right thing by calling it a mini loader, or is there a better name for it?
That's fine.
All right.
Yeah, you just probably have to explain it a little more on town floor, maybe.
And what it's going to be used for.
Yeah, but you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I make a motion to support Article 26.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is 27 the fire chief's vehicle?
It would be, yes.
I-
So we'd have to just say what the vehicle is, how we'd be paying for it, and why a lease is a good idea, what the annual lease payments are.
It's already recommended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
There it
says
is.
recommended by Finance Committee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make a motion to support Article 27.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Recommended.
That's capital before CPA. Here's CPA. Actually want this to be,
Where did Article 27 show in the budget worksheet? I just don't remember seeing that in like the lease, or is it not in there yet?
great question. So it shows up in the
DPW, I think.
DPW budget. Let me show you.
Yeah, right there.
So here's vehicle lease. Last year, it was $233,000. We have a significant amount fall off. The recommendation is for this, which is our existing amount from general fund is $139,462. We have another basically $40,000 that comes from water and sewer.
Yeah.
And then $19,634 is what the annual payment for the chief's vehicle would be.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and some of that's coming from there and some of it's coming from,
And that's the current proposal, is that we would take half of it from, half of it would go right into the DPW lease line,
right.
and half of it would come from
Does it come from the ambulance reserve?
ambulance trust. And that's because this ambulance trust surplus has been paying for an ambulance for the last 5 years, $20,000 a year. So instead of paying $20,000 next year, we'd pay $9,800.
So no matter where the source is, you're still going to keep that 19,000 in the DPW budget?
Yep,
Yeah, the
19,000,
sources go out
it
on
gets
the budget.
offset
Okay.
in my workbook by this line right here.
Okay,
And we don't need to show it as being in fire because it's both
right.
general fund. I think
Yeah.
it's not necessary.
Yeah, because some of our water sewer trucks are still in that.
And those don't show up in
Right.
the DPW budget because
In the
I show them in the
enterprise.
water sewer budget
Right.
instead.
Okay.
I saw Chief's hand up.
I know this was up there the last time, I'm just trying to find the reasoning why it's gonna come out, part of the fire chief's vehicle is gonna come out of ambulance trust. The vehicle itself is used EMS wise for probably less than 1% of the actual job.
Yeah, and the argument was that,
When they're responding to medicals, except for a handful of after hours, is already on duty at that point, so it's not going to medical calls.
and the argument was that the fire chief is also the EMS director. So you can make a case that their vehicle can also be paid for through this fund. That's the case you'd make.
Yeah, it has more to do with what the job is.
And I will make sure that our accounting team is comfortable with that. I think that needs to be done. And we can adjust that if they think we're going down a wrong path.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it'd be significantly less than when we were paying off the ambulance, right?
Right. I think the argument from the chief would be that the account exists to pay for ambulance
Right.
capital. That feels pretty good now.
What do we estimate? Are we going to get 10 years out of the ambulance or?
We got 16 out of the last one, so
Wow.
we get at least 10.
We're what, 5 years in? We got
6.
6 years. Oh, that's right. That was a longer.
February 20th, well, it's already paid for.
Yeah, I
The
know.
vehicle has been here since February 20th of 2020.
Okay.
It's great. Cool. Thank you for going over that.
No, it's worth it to slow this all down. And then,
Do you have any?
Warren.
Community
CPA.
preservation.
We made it to CPA.
Yeah. Well, we don't really vote on any of this because.
Yeah, we will, I think we will, yeah.
We will need to vote on
And we
all
have
this.
because,
It's always a little weird because we don't even review it.
yeah, but some of these things, many of the items have financial impact on the town.
On the rest of the town.
So like if we build a giant new park
Yeah,
and then we have to maintain it, do we have the capability to do
to
that?
do that, right. Good point.
since CPA doesn't pay for any of that. Like, I mean, they're not allowed to.
For sure. So this first part is kind of housekeeping.
Yep.
We are eligible to take 5% of our appropriation for CPA and put it towards admin expenses. This would only be about 3%, but that would go towards admin expenses for staff who work with CPA, or for any expenses they have, say for paper, office supplies, meeting postings, whatever else. And then there's a formula. You take 10% of the appropriation, and that goes to historic, community, and open space. And then you estimate what the revenues are going to be towards the budgeted reserve. The rest goes to budgeted reserve after that. So again, really nice portion of CPA money that we'll receive this year.
All sounds good. Just the number, you got 12,000 up here and we've got 10.5 down here.
I'm realizing that I think that's a more accurate number for what we would spend for our admin staff, if that's amenable to this board.
Yeah, that's
just
fine.
need
I just want to make
up that
sure we're
slightly. Yeah,
crossing T's.
so that's a change that we're making on the fly, if that sounds good to everybody. Okay. Finance is good with this?
Motion?
Motion to support Article 28.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Number one, this is supplemental funding for the steeple project that was done last year. It's like $4,000. It's pretty small.
Motion to support Article 29.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is supplemental funding for the Day Pond project. This is I think it's $26,000. The reason that we still need money for this project after getting 2 appropriations in the past, the first year they received all of the money that they thought they needed except for funds that they hoped to receive through a large grant. The next year they received the rest of that money, not through the grant because the grant didn't come through. All of that was done with preliminary estimates. We didn't have our construction estimates from the contractor yet, from our consultant. So once they finished the permitting, everything else, and they finished the final designs, they came back with cost estimates that showed that we probably would have been around $50,000 over on this project. We went out to bid, had a great bid result, and they came back basically within the realm of the low end of this project. That did result in still about $26,000 short on the project. But when we came to town meeting last year, we didn't have our cost estimates. So I think we did pretty well, and the project is now substantially complete. So we're asking for a final $26,000 to take us home.
And Community Preservation approved it?
Yep. CPA approved.
Motion to support Article 30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Once that's all done, who's responsible for maintaining that whole area?
That would be DPW.
Is that added? I mean, I know we're halfway through this thing, but is that added job responsibility or?
Marlo, any thoughts?
I know the Fish and Game will take on the part of putting in the aerator and taking the aerator out. So as far as that part, they maintain it. I know when it's a fishing derby, they might come and do some trimming and stuff. The rest of it, most of it is.
I mean, I'm not opposed
Yeah.
to it. Or,
They sound on school grounds too.
I just.
The other main concern from like the needing for the dredge was the sedimentation. And a lot of that sedimentation problem has been handled through a private project. So that's not coming down the waterway anymore.
Yeah.
So that was something that we discussed on the conservation end of stuff previous to the project happening. So
I think it'd be virtually maintenance free unless we get debris in front of the screen for the discharge piping. That's all simple stuff to maintain.
Oh, yeah. That's
And we go right down to the west side anyway, so.
Should maintain it. As long as it's not being filled in, it should.
Yeah. Right. And I would.
It's all theoretically.
Yeah, I would say it's largely maintenance free for at least the first 5 years or so, and then after that,
it'll eventually silts up. But
something will have to
take a
happen
while.
eventually. But
Yeah. No, it's good.
Good.
Thank you.
Next is Cutter Farm Museum. We received money last year to get this project started. We've been able to hire an architect and get a big plan together. It looks really good. We've applied for state funding. that would allow us to get this project done this year, as long as this appropriation comes through as well. It said $50,000 in your packet. For consistency, I'm changing it to a sum of for now. Although arguably I could put the number in since we know what CPA is already approved, but I'm just going to say a sum of to keep ourselves consistent. And then the 50,000 will show up in the motion.
Okay.
Cool.
I make a motion to support Article 31.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Recommended.
This is one I'm really excited about. Marlo just took this and ran with it. This is to restore and install new recreational equipment in the School Street Park, this right over here around the corner behind the fire station. We've got 2 play structures there. Actually, we have a swing set and 1 play structure on top of old, not to code, mulch and other materials. We'll get 2 new play structures in here and replace all of the wood chips.
And the fencing.
And the fencing. So we'll make the whole thing look really nice, and we should be able to do it for right around $72,000. I think that'll be a nice plus for that area.
Yeah. I make a motion to support Article 32.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Recommended.
33. This is the one we've discussed already this evening. This is the community preservation housing project over at 7 Elm Street.
Is this the first one we've ever done?
There's been money towards capital Onk and other things for affordable housing in the past, but yeah, this is
Other than that, yeah.
privately built affordable housing. Yeah, this would be the first one.
Right.
We might have done a Habitat for Humanity project in the past too, but
Did that actually happen?
I don't know.
What?
That Habitat for Humanity?
No.
Oh, it's too bad.
We tried to.
We tried and
Yeah.
it didn't
Okay.
go. I make a motion to support Article 33.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Recommended.
I wonder if I said to build affordable housing. This is for pre-development funding. I wonder if that should support affordable housing.
Does it say to take any other action relative there too?
It does. You're probably fine.
It feels like that's an action relative to building, right?
Pre-development.
Yeah.
All right, I'm fine with it. Yeah, this is $40,000 also for housing. This would create a housing production plan, which was also alluded to tonight. And this is something we wanted to do in-house last year, but my time and the assistant planner's time is just severely limited. So this would get us some consultant support, get the housing production plan done, follows up on the comprehensive plan really nicely, and then
Valley Planning Commission.
probably, but we could also make it available to anybody.
Yeah.
Probably would need to.
Motion to support Article 34.
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Recommended.
Great.
That's awesome.
Really?
This is cool. This is a short one. Agricultural preservation restriction. We talked to the Galanka Farm folks earlier. The state requires that towns make a match towards this. We have a decent amount of funds in another fund from the past available. We'd need about $4,000 left to bring us over the line to support the APR.
Make a motion to support Article 35.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is this land in both Hatfield and Whately?
That is true. Yes, it's in Hatfield and Whately.
right
So
on the line,
Whately
Yeah, yeah.
has actually more of the land, but less of the assessed value.
Because the house and the business are up on the Hatfield side, probably, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. So the state asked us both for a 10% match, and we said that doesn't make sense. We're both eligible for 5% matches, so that's what we're going to do. The state will be fine with it.
Yeah.
So
Whately's gonna,
Whately's good. They've already got the money.
they've already got the
Yeah,
money. Good.
they've already approved it. And actually, we're pretty close to. I think we're all in favor of the project. So just a little more money, and
Yeah.
we got it.
Great project.
Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, wherever the line is there. Yeah.
I think Whately and us have
We can
been,
both enjoy it.
Yeah, we've been fine. Yeah. All right. This one we've talked about before as well. Accept the provisions of Master General Law, Chapter 44, Section 55C, to create a municipal affordable housing trust fund. This would create the fund. We would not put any money into it at this time, which kind of gives us a year to get folks on board. We have technical assistance through the Massachusetts Housing Partnership to train them. And then next year we'd put money into the fund, and then they can be on their way and start giving out money for projects. This does not require a vote from finance, I believe, because I don't think it has a, well, actually, you could argue you should, because a housing trust has considerable oversight over money if it's given to them.
So I'll make a motion to support Article 36.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is the ultimate goal here to bring, it's just to bring more affordable housing?
Yes. And the other nice part of it is that you'd have a group of people, ideally, who, could become a little more knowledgeable in affordable housing, so that instead of bringing every affordable housing proposal to the Community Preservation Act, who, they all do other things.
Right.
You'd get a little more guidance over this. So.
That's awesome.
And then zoning bylaw, this one doesn't need to go to finance, but this is the battery energy storage system. I think we got a good primer on this before.
Yeah.
So if this looks good, everybody, then we're good. This is the bulkiest part of the warrant, but all of that looks good, which brings us to Article, for now, 38. See if the town will vote to hear any and all reports which have to do with welfare of the town. This will be said over the shuffling of paper and chairs as people start to leave the room. But, that's it. Anything feel like it's missing, unclear, anything else?
Wasn't the bylaw committee going to do something?
Great question.
Bring a change in
We
this?
don't need the bylaw committee to bring anything forward at this time.
Okay.
Next year, we'll bring forward a set of bylaw changes to bring us into the correct format and to make some edits.
Okay.
And that will all be overseen by the consultant that we're working with this year. I want to pass this around real quick. I feel like
Is all of this going to be included in the warrant, or this is going to be a separate handout?
I think it all has to be in the warrant. Typically, we print the motions for everybody and not the warrant.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think we should print some copies of the bylaw as well, so people have it. I am recommending, and we don't have to do this tonight if you don't want to, but I'm recommending that just because I know we'll need this, especially the second one, a little less than the first, but I think the first two, making this transfer now from Chapter 32 to Chapter 32B insurance, the health insurance from vocational tuition transportation. We know we have the money available from the voc transportation. That will allow us to make sure we have the money when our bill comes at the end of May, paired with the town meeting change. And then we know that our legal bills are going to be higher this year because of the special counsel we've retained for the Route 5 project. So I'd recommend that come from Finance Committee Reserve Fund, although you don't have to do that because we could just use the funds that come in at town meeting. So up to you.
I don't care one way or another, but I'd be happy to do that. We just need,
I don't remember doing a mid-year transfer like
You usually just do it end of year.
you do it.
we do it end of year, but from Finance Reserve, we could just do a transfer.
Yes.
But the only thing is we usually have a form because we need the accountant
Yeah.
to certify that the money is there.
So let's wait for this.
So if we just get that form, we can do it anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wait for that.
We could actually do it before town meeting if you want.
Yeah, certainly not opposed.
All right. So yeah, you could do it at your meeting before town meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll get that through accounting.
Yeah.
And at least for the second one, because the legal one will create the fund that night. We should probably just use that first.
Yeah.
Right.
The other one though, I mean, the vocational tuition, we can do that.
You can do it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's fine.
Yeah.
No, one way or another.
Yep.
Don't worry
Any
about
other
it.
thoughts on this? No. All right. Good.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever done a mid-year transfer before. We usually do them end of year, but it doesn't
I
matter.
only was worried about it to just make sure we can pay our health insurance bill, but I think we'll be fine because we'll have we can do this and we'll have
Definitely wanna do that.
Yes.
but we'll be in good shape because town meeting's in 2 weeks and
Yeah,
the bill won't
whatever
come
you
in until after that.
Just let us know.
All right, so I had discussed major transfers. I had town meeting warrant. I had FY27 budget. Do we need to? So I guess you'll need to approve the warrant, and then I need to just make the format changes and print it.
Do we
so you
need
can
to
sign it.
approve the budget? The budget comes from us? Or do we do that the night of town meeting in case there are
I-
changes that come up?
I mean, You can always keep doing it. It doesn't really matter. We should probably, let's do it then. Because then we can have the final version to
Yeah,
in
because
front. You know what I mean?
Andrew's going to run by
Right.
the accountant and we'll
Right,
just make
we'll just do
sure.
it then.
So before the town meeting, when we have our pre-meeting,
Pre-meeting,
we'll do it then.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's fine.
Perfect.
Anticipate it's going to happen, but
Right.
Town meeting's at 7, we plan to meet at 6, is that what we would normally do?
Yeah, we normally meet at 6.
Yeah. And we're at Smith Academy still, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Accepted a motion to adjourn?
So
Second.
moved. Second.
Okay, and we still need,
Aye.
Thank
You're
you,
done.
gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you. So I am just making these changes to the warrant, so you can sign that. Do you need
Okay.
to vote to approve the warrant? I guess you can wait until you have the format changes, but up to you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye.
I'll let you make your changes. You don't have a town, you said you do not have a town administrator, okay.
Everything's been covered.
So we have any unfinished business before I make a motion to go into executive session.
Do you want to make your motion to accept the warrant?
Yes.
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the annual town meeting warrant as proposed and amended.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so that takes care of everything. With that being said, make a motion to go into executive session with special counsel pursuant to General Law C 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to potential litigation arising from the Route 5 infrastructure project and pursuant to General Laws C 30A, Section 21A7, T, to comply with or act with the authority of the law, General Law C 4S 726, discuss privileged communication from special counsel and not return to regular session. So, Jaworski, I have a second.
Second.
Okay, motion made, motion seconded. Jaworski, aye.
Yeah, aye.
Launch Street, aye.
And we will not be coming back. So thank you, John. Good night.